In this lecture, we're going to explore some of the types of training that an organization can offer, as well as the high-level process for designing training programs. We can categorize training into general training, which provides trainees with the skills and abilities that can be applied readily to any organization, like communication skills or time management or leadership skills, and other training as specific skill training, that provides trainees with skills or information that is of use specifically for their present organization or job. Training methods are tools that enable learners to acquire desired knowledge, to sharpen behavioral and performance skills, and develop appropriate attitudes. Employee training methods can be classified as either on-the-job training, where employees are taught within the context of their work, and off-the-job training, that's typically conducted either in a company classroom or at an external site specific to training. There are several ways to conduct on-the-job training. The first is job instruction training, where a supervisor or colleague trains on a specific process, machine, or procedure within the context of the job being performed. This includes employee onboarding. The second is coaching, which typically is performed by the supervisor, providing feedback and remediation or improvement opportunities throughout the work process. Coaching might include direct personal instruction and guidance. It includes continuous evaluation and correction. It should include quick feedback and assistance and supervising that employee. Programmed learning may also take place on the job, where specific hands-on or computer-based learning is conducted. This is also sometimes called e-learning. There's also job rotation or job enrichment. This is a great way for an employee to increase their skills, to better understand how the business operates, or how a process goes from A to Z. Employees who are able to add value to various functions not only increase their value to the organization, but can bring forth more complete and workable solutions. Simulation is often used to help a new employee or employee learning a new skill work with the techniques or processes before going live. Role-playing is a type of simulation. Demonstration, of course, is on-the-job technique that's offered where a trainee can witness how a process or technique works from someone who's already mastered that skill. Apprenticeship, whether it's paid or unpaid, is a great way for an employer to train and really test out an employee's aptitudes before they're actually hired. Some of the job training methods where an employee completes the training outside of the workplace might include lectures method, which could take place at an off-site training facility or at a conference that may be attended to enhance skills and keep up to date on the practice area. For HR, this might be SHRM, the Society for Human Resources Management annual conference, or some other specific conference on, for example, employee retention. And lastly, technology training such as DVDs, streaming video, and internet, web conferencing or learning portals such as Headlight.com, ClickToLearn.com, or others. There are a slew of them out there. As with many functional areas, HR professionals may attend online seminars by associations like the Aberdeen Group, or technology seminars that are sponsored by software vendors. Special training programs include sessions that may be conducted on a need-to-perform basis. These might include an employee orientation program that are conducted as new employees are hired, or training for teams if a new team is formed for a particular assignment, or information technology training with the adoption of new technology or an upgrade of software. You may want to conduct informational technology training or adversity awareness training provided on a periodic basis as needed to meet training standards. For instance, sexual harassment training is another special training program, typically conducted on an annual basis or as new employees are hired. To begin the training program creation process, some of the key questions should be: what really needs to be trained for? What are the objectives of that training? Are they on-premise or off-premise? How long are the programs? What should the content of those particular programs be? What are the instructional methods? So should it be a lecture? Should it be online, etc.? And lastly, how will the success of the program be evaluated? Above all else, you want to have clear and measurable learning objectives. Without training objectives, it's very difficult to measure the effectiveness after a course is completed. Trainers need to identify what trainees should be able to accomplish after participating in the program. What is the desired level of such accomplishment according to our industry or organizational standards? And do we want to develop attitudes, skills, or knowledge, or some combination of these three? These should all be in the training plan, which should also be communicated with the training attendees. In preparation for the training itself, you obviously want to look at support resources. What are the materials, technology, or classroom that's needed? Do we want it to be a round table to induce more participation? Or will it be more of a traditional classroom model? Should we buy ready-made training versus build training, or hire a consultant or trainer? Are those resources available to us? So this graphic gives you an idea of the elements, tying them all together. First, we need to start with understanding the business's goals, values, and mission, as well as the areas that the organization needs to improve on, and the direction it's moving in the future. We can then identify the training initiatives that are important to support the organization. To plan and design appropriate training, training managers must understand the organization, and really should be part of the strategic planning process, and this depicts a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is a planning tool used by organizations, sometimes formally, sometimes informally, to really understand the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to the organization, whereas opportunities and threats are external. Strengths include the positive attitudes or attributes that are internal to the organization and answers the question, what do we do well? What is the advantage in the marketplace? What resources do we have? The weaknesses, those are areas that detract from your competitive edge. They are areas that are within your control but, for whatever reason, are not being addressed. It answers the questions, what does the organization do poorly? Where could there be improvement? What problems could be avoided? What do our customers want that we're not providing? What could we be doing that we're not doing? The SWOT answers other external factors as well, such as what are competitors doing well, what obstacles does the organization face, and is the market changing in ways that the company is unprepared for? Let's again go over the analyses needed before training should occur. A personnel analysis determines who needs training and if they have the basic skills and motivation to learn. This will give a good overview of the current state of the company, too. You might look at performance appraisals to find areas for improvement or growth, or conduct interviews with staff and their managers through work sampling or observation. A task analysis or competency model looks at the activities performed by an employee and the knowledge, skills, and abilities required to complete a task. It's used to identify the knowledge, skills, and personal characteristics needed for successful performance. A task analysis is a time-consuming process, and it's also very tedious, and should only be undertaken once the organizational analysis has determined that the company intends to engage in training. And a needs analysis is often referred to as a gap analysis. It focuses on the difference between the way work should be done and the way work is actually being done. It's the ideal versus the actual performance. The organization, in setting training and development goals, should know in advance what it expects from the employees prior to training, and the decision must be made about training employees for current jobs versus future jobs. Which of those is most needed, and which should be focused on? Should training even occur versus other HR options, such as changing selection procedures or job redesign? In this way, as with so many HR functions, managers absolutely need to be involved. Mid-level and lower-level managers are usually the first to identify a training need because they work closest with the staff. Upper-level management need to be involved as well because they all view the needs assessment from a broader perspective. Their interest lies in the relationship between the training need and the overall business strategy, and they must agree to provide the financial resources necessary for the training to occur. For learning to be effective, there needs to be a learning readiness and buy-in to learning. Learning readiness includes a motivation to learn. This graphic explores the elements that go into creating a learning environment, one where learning is ingrained into the culture, and meaningful learning can occur. As shown, there first must be a motivation to learn. Employees must see why it's important and beneficial, not only to the organization but to themselves. Learning also needs to be reinforced by the organization. Managers and the C-suite need to support, encourage, and recognize learning. Learning behaviors need to be recognized and reinforced as meaningful and beneficial. Organizational learning is the process by which an organization learns from past mistakes and adapts to its environment. It begins with individual learning and change, and depends on social processes and sharing. For example, does the culture promote and incentivize sharing? Do they promote and incentivize learning from others or learning from mistakes? Let's take a look at one specific training program that's conducted in some manner by all organizations, the new hire orientation. This is the process of introducing new employees to the organization so that they can become effective contributors more quickly. Some of the program's goals are to reduce anxiety and uncertainty for new employees, to ease the burden of socializing newcomers for supervisors and coworkers, and to provide a favorable initial job experience to the new employee. How it's carried out will vary, but effective orientation should prepare the new employee for work, and it should lessen their time to hit the ground running. It should consider establishing mentors to partner with the new employee, providing someone to help them learn the ropes and be there for questions as they come up. It should certainly use a checklist to ensure that all the required and important policies and practices are covered. It's also an opportunity to build loyalty by sharing the successes and strategy of the organization. Information should be presented in a way that employees understand the details. For example, the complexity of a benefits program and the considerations in making decisions around benefits. But you should certainly avoid information overload. Too much information at one time can be overwhelming. This chart depicts the outcomes of a successful orientation program. They include creating a favorable impression, providing needed information, getting coworker acceptance, socializing and integrating the new hire, and providing what the employee needs to become productive and performing at high level as quickly as possible. Some of the things that should be considered when preparing a new hire orientation include the content of the orientation, like policies and procedures, work hours, compensation schedules, who can answer questions, overviews, and introductions to the business. Here's one example of a schedule of topics that might be included in a new employee orientation program. This is just an example, but you can see it provides background or initiation to the company, what's included in terms of policies and programs, the background or initiation and explanation of benefits, a tour of the workplace, and an introduction to supervisors and coworkers. So hopefully, this has given you some more ideas in terms of processes and how to develop some training programs that are effective within your organization.